on station.
과학기지로 떠납니다.
Here we are in set number 3 on Dasan Station, up at the top left in the purple. Winning that last one, it is Stats. Also going for a very early gate as well.
Over here, his opponent in green wins the first one, loses the second. It is Solar, the defending Star League champion. Cross finals finalist. Not as significant, but still impressive, his run through that gauntlet of champions, basically. That's what the cross finals really should be called, is Gauntlet of the Champions. I mean, not all of them are champions, I guess. So they
almost champions.
They all, in our case, were all champions, but just not at that
champions
time.
In our heart.
Yeah. Anyways, the gold base taken here, obviously pretty common. We're going to see a 2-gate adept play. This map gets a little bit awkward, obviously, because the rush distance is super short. I mean, you're going to be able to hit your opponent's base a lot faster with ground armies, and it kind of goes both ways. I think Stats is a little bit more concerned about being able to take a third base as well out there. And then, I mean, the bases are somewhat compact, I guess you could argue, but I feel like this is kind of an awkward map for Pros, and this is definitely what Solar wanted with the bans that we saw in that draft for the maps. I'm not entirely sure how this one's going to play out, because I don't know what Solar's going to show us here, and he probably has something specifically prepared, so I kind of just want to sit back and watch. It's another map that I frankly, to be totally put out there, be totally honest with you guys, do not know and kind of understand as well as the other maps, because we do not see it in Korean play very often. So.
Very true. I was expecting a bit more aggression, actually, out of the Protoss player, out of Stats, but I guess he's turning that on now. He wants to start with the depths. He did cancel the Zealot that he was chrono boosting, changed his mind, went for the backdoor base. Solar, of course, does scout this, and what this is good for is actually trying to, stop the Zerg from making drones and saturating that gold base and getting a very good economy off of 2 bases here that you can get on this map very quickly. He's forcing him to make a bunch of links to stop any damage from being done.
Already going to use the Shade here. Missed a little bit of DPS, though, and good micro from Solar, damaging that first adept quite heavily. The Queen immediately targets the weakened one, and it should just go down here. 2 more hits. Oh, it looks like 3 more hits. I miscounted.
It's still alive!
Oh my god, it's still alive.
Still doing damage.
That's actually a mistake.
He shades, and not the best place to shade to. Solar very nicely did kind of block the front door.
This one adept with so little hit points is actually getting so much value. But everything you said holds true. Obviously, it forced him to make lings. 11 lings for 2 adepts, pretty solid trade. And it, I guess it kind of weakens the gold base in a sense.
Yeah,
all those
this
bases
is so
almost saturated right now. This is going to be frustrating. This is what we talked about before in the game with Beyond on 2 days ago on Tuesday, where this base is gold because it's hard to hold. I mean, that's almost like a golden rule. Gold equals hard to hold. Like,
yeah.
It's more minerals, so the trade-off is in the map design that it's going to be a base that's harder to hold on to and continue to mine from.
Your micro has to be on point. Like, you can poke at that adept with the 1 queen, but every single time an adept shot goes off, you need to pull back that 1 drone. Oh, this is the spore cancel.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. A lot of damage done here by Stats, in fact. And this base still gets a lot of value. But I feel like the adepts, just 1 adept has already done so much in terms of lost mining time. This is going to end now, obviously, though, as the rocks are destroyed. This adept will probably just be killed here. It only has about 18 health left with the shields. Down it goes. So, I mean, pretty basic little defense there. The Dark Shrine follow-up with the adept attack speed is going to be very tough to hold. I think there will definitely be a lot of Archons in the mix here as well. I think that's kind of half of what this Dark Shrine is really supposed to be for with this push. And this really Ling-heavy style we're seeing from Zergs this week in KeSPA Cup is almost hard countered by the Archon play because it does large amounts of AoE damage to biological units.
He's going to have to remake this wall. The pylon is already getting quite low. And there he does go. Wants to come in there and make sure he kills the pylon. Back off. But we already have 7 Adepts out here for Stats, and you know, he is shading across the map now. Creep spread is pretty good. Sees this coming with the Overlord as well, and he does have Roaches and Lings ready, but still can get a lot of economic damage done, just like in the last game, except this time the counterattack rush distance is very short, so Stats has to be a bit more careful with this.
Yeah, really a lot of damage he's going to attempt to get here, but it's going to shade away. Urstock is trying to get involved as well. He
cancels it.
Not shade, that's very smart, predicts that Solar would have his units in position. This is one of the tough things about dealing with Adepts. They have attack speed now as well. The Queen gets one last inject off and actually will escape for the time being, so mistargeting there. And finally, this will be cleaned up. He won't have enough time to shade again. Maybe one gets out now, not even, it doesn't look like. So gets cleaned up, and the counterattack your time ball is what he has to worry about now.
Yeah, this is the key moment for Solar. Already DT's out on the map, and that's very key to this build. You need them to defend. The Lair only now is finishing up, so he's immediately going to make an Overseer. And probably then, once he gets that Overseer out, because he already has Spores, he can begin to put on a bit of pressure, try to deny the third base, the gold. That will be very important for Solar here.
Yeah. Ooh, using a shade like this, he should be able to save most of these, though. He's so aggressive with this. It actually will get caught. I mean, the shade will allow him to escape with some of these Adepts, but I don't think this is what he wanted to do here. He's just trying to buy time to get those Immortals out back at home. And, I mean, there's not a whole lot of time that Solar is going to give here. Obviously, as you mentioned, the rush isn't so short. Does he have an Overseer with that army? I think he does.
I think he has to have it, yeah.
He does, okay. He's actually turning around. He's being really indecisive here, which buys Solar a lot of time to get this gold base up. He's waiting out the overcharge. He's trying to get the rest of his units in here. Roach speed is going to be done soon, too, which is going to really empower this push.
This army right now, for Stats, is so small, and he's really got to be careful. I'm not even really 100% sure why Solar is backing off so heavily. I guess he wants to come from another angle.
I think it's going to be really tough for him to make this attack work into that choke point with one Immortal out now, 2, a few sentries. If this army meets Solar's army on open ground, it crushes it 10 out of 10 times.
Stats' army?
Yeah, sorry. If Stats' army gets fought in the open ground, it will lose 10 out of 10 times. But if Solar attacks into that location, I think he's going to have a bad time, and it could cost him big. So I like his decision to back off here and take another base.
Protoss army was so small. It was so tempting, you know, but I guess this is definitely the safe choice where it's like, okay, I mean, the third base is later. It's still going to be vulnerable a bit later on as well. I can get Hydras out. I can get Lurkers out. Lurkers are so good on this map, and if you can get them into position. So he wants to instead, you know, survive for the late game and get a bunch of Lurkers out here. But Stats, you know, it looks like he actually wants to go on the aggression here.
Well, just like in the previous set, he has a huge tech advantage now. You know, he has got Archons and Immortals here. I guess just with the one Archon for now, but Archons and Immortals is very powerful versus the tech or the lack of tech from Solar. He's trying to get a few Hydras out here. They're going to help defend. They're going to have that extra range. Even made some Ravagers here to help try to kind of rain some piles down onto this army. But this is a scary Protoss army, especially in choke points like that one. A Prism is coming here and charge. So I think Solar should be safe for the time being. And this has kind of been this little tug-of-war game with armies that never really fight each other. But the fact that they exist has you know, created some movements here, some tech choices. I really like how this game has played out.
Yeah, Stats, he had a scary army, but he didn't have a Warp Prism with this, so he couldn't, you know, threaten the main. Very close air-to-air on this map, of course. You can go straight into the main. It's a pretty big main as well. The only thing is that the natural, the gold, is very close, so it wouldn't be too hard to defend for Solar, but at the same time, you know, you could attack the main, maybe come in the back with a bunch of Adepts. Of course, as the Zerg, it's very hard to block this, you know, compared to a Protoss who can just make a pile on a bunch of buildings over there.
Yep, and here comes the Adept Shade here back into the base. We'll see the Lurker Den. 8 Lurkers are on the way, but they're certainly not here. He's not sending any units back either. So much damage done. Nearly 10 drones go down at this backdoor base, and the Adepts are still alive. He's going to warp in another round here. But the scary thing is they're about to have 11 Lurkers on the map. 11 Lurkers is going to be almost impossible to deal with at this stage in the game. He has built a decent Immortal count so far, but it's the choke points, it's the AoE effect. That's really going to be the challenge. And already one Lurker just going to deny mining at the soul.
So annoying. Already 6 probes go down, denies all that mining. Just one Lurker. Doesn't even have to be with the army. It's totally fine. This is a great move. Stats, knowing this was coming, he did break down these rocks just in case.
Ooh, wasting 2 barriers as well, actually. That's pretty significant should they decide to fight anytime soon. Barrier obviously has a very long cooldown. It's one of the most powerful abilities in the game. It's like a self-castable defense matrix or something.
This Protoss army is like really vulnerable, very small in front of the base of Solar. And Stats is trying to hit 3 locations at once. He tries to drop in here. And, you know, he's trying to come in the back. There is one spine crawler, but these Zealots, they have charge, and they're about to have +1 too, so they could do a lot of damage.
I think even just adding 2 lurkers back here would be so helpful. This time he may actually kill the lurker den as well. Good force fields going down. The Archon does fall. So much AoE damage here. The Zealots, you know, the Lings are buying some time against them, but they're going to do so much damage. Also dropping here now at the 4th base as well. Finally started to clean these up, but he's losing a lot of mining time. And Solar's not able to capitalize on the misposition of that army, as you were talking about, because of these Zealots harassing right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Solar's eventually going to clean all this up, but it's buying Stats a ton of time. It looks like he wants to hit the front at the same time. And he essentially delayed mining at 2 bases for about 30 seconds there. So a nice bit of damage, gets 8 drones as well. But now Solar wants to do his own bit of damage, and this is where this map gets really funky, because there's so many different directions you can come from, so many different angles you can take.
There's so many different holes and pathways and doorways. This is cool. I love this. This is the kind of decision you almost never see in a pro game, but let me just recall the counter to this back home. Just 3 Immortals. I don't have to recall his entire army. 3 Immortals will clean this up no problem. Mutalisks on the map, we talked about the possibility of this transition a lot yesterday, and we're starting to see it here in this game. 6 of them already out, 4 more on the way, and they can deal with the Prism, and they can also help deal with these Zealots. I don't think he's going to do too much harassment for the time being. Needs to, you know, scout this. Okay, just drop down that tag. The Mutas are going for an attack. In fact, actually, as I say that, Archons are, you know, are not here, or not at the base. They're here. And those Immortals he recalled back earlier are not going to be helpful versus Mutalisks.
Well, Stats knows a big investment into those Mutas means less army on the ground, and he's going to go for the attack. All these Lurkers have no help. And look at this, it's going to turn into a semi-base trade scenario where Solar just goes across the map and attacks himself.
The problem with base trading versus Lurkers is you need to maintain detection, and the only detection he has with this army currently is that Oracle, and Oracles have to preemptively tag armies. He's going to turn around. I don't think he can ever win a race versus this army, but at the same time, turning around means he's pretty much just surrendered. Is he ever going to, when he turns around his army, is he going to kill this? No, Solar's just going to leave.
Yeah, Solar can just run away after doing a ton of damage. I mean, he left some units over here to kill 41 drones, so he's doing his own share of damage, but
oh my god, I can't believe he did not magic box those. That is
so many
painful.
Low mutas there.
They have that passive that's not letting them regen pretty quick, but that was still a painful thing to watch.
Scary.
Yeah. Either way, 1 Stalker and 3 Archons is the only anti-air that we have, and that's going to become important later on with these mutas if he can actually split them or magic box them.
Yeah, he does have Storm too.
That's true, and 4 Templar.
Yeah.
Which can become Archons, so realistically there's 2 more Archons possible in this army.
Solar taking that base to the top right is very important. That base is so far away from the main base, so in a base trade scenario, it's essentially like a hidden base, you know, a proxy, not a proxy base, but like a separated base that's kind of in the corner doing its own thing, keeping your economy somewhat healthy and away from any threats, because Stats just doesn't know about it. So
he's going to kill a lot of probes here with these mutas again, kind of abusing the fact that they have to do that horseshoe effect and go around, you know, that wall. Then when they come back, he goes over here. He's just finding these holes. We've got to be careful about fighting against those Archons. He obviously would love to kill that Cybernetics core, but I think that's just too greedy at this point. Finding harassment damage here instead, though. This Cyber core is actually still alive, so killing that one over there, I guess, wouldn't be too significant after all. And we'll kill this one, though. And either Stats is just struggling to hold on to mining. He's struggling to produce units. But he has, you know, some resources left. He needs to be careful about what he makes. And these Archons, again, slightly out of position.
Gotta be so careful with those mutas. Don't want to bunch them up. They haven't taken too much damage here. And we're kind of resetting in a way. Stats is losing a lot of his tech in the main base, though. He's got a decent army here that can go head-to-head with what Solar has, but Solar's never going to fight that straight up. Solar with 3 bases that are very separated and split up, so it's going to be hard for Stats to attack all 3 of them at the same time. Look at this. He sees Stats move across, and he's like, no, I'll never fight you. I'm just going to go around you. This is DOS on station.
Yeah, he also has an army that he's soon to have an army that can beat this straight up. He's not there yet, but he's almost there. He's made a lot of Ravagers. He needs ranged units to deal with the Archons. So the weakness of Archons, obviously, is that they don't have a lot of range. I think it's range 3. So that's kind of what you're looking at here. The Immortals are going to be tough to fight as well, since he has 6 of them. But if he can kill the Archons, and the Mutas can clean up everything else, even if the whole army gets blanketed on Storms. He's not there yet, as mentioned, and this is why he's avoiding the army, as you just said. But he still has this base, and attacking into this is going to be tough. Also, there's a Spore Crawler here, so if he loses that Observer for any reason, you know, he's going to have to kind of guess where he's dropping his Storms.
Well, he's just A-moving in here.
Okay, got to be careful with that Observer. Let's keep a close eye on that, whereas these probes are not mining.
Oh boy, not even a cannon over here.
But he's not looking. Oh,
that was close.
Okay, this can be broken now. The Observer is positioned well at the back here, so he does have detection. Here comes the rest of this army down. He wants to kill these Archons. Oh, huge Archon hit onto those Mutas. Probes going down here. There's so many ranged Zerg units. More Charged Zealots come in. This is actually such a close fight right now. And this base is taken out.
It looks like Solar is not going to be able to win this fight even. You know, maybe eventually, but Stats is buying so much time. Solar losing another base.
GG.
That's it, GG.
Stats, man. What a narrow victory there. We very rarely see Protoss win these types of base trades.
Yeah, very, very rarely.
It's so rare. I mean, that's impressive decision-making in every aspect.
Yeah,
man.
it really was. And I think the map definitely plays into it a bit as well. You know, it's not very spread apart, the 2 bases, so Stats was able to get back and defend in time and go attack very quickly. Whereas, you know, on a map like New Gettysburg, it's definitely a bit harder, and those Mutas have a lot more room to fly around. But this is not what I expected. I expected Solar actually to win this one, maybe even with the 2-0, but Stats really showing up to play today. Nicely done.
Very impressive. Solar is not out of this group yet, though. He will drop down to the losers match, and we'll see if he can defeat, you know, really either Marine Lord or Trap. Coming up next, tell your friends we've got another foreigner playing here in the KeSPA Cup. It is Marine Lord, and we'll be seeing him after just a short commercial break. We'll be right back.
Take prisoners, conquering leaders.